Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Pleasure Priority Podcast with me, Amber Taylor. This is the podcast all about how you can have the audacity to put yourself and your pleasure first, which ultimately shapes a life perfect for you. We discuss friends and family, career and money, oppression, healing, and mental health, current events, and historical ones too. Basically, all things life and pleasure and how you can create more of it authentically. I'm your host, Amber Taylor, and it's my pleasure to talk to you every week. Let's tune in. Hello, my friends. We are back with the last episode of the series. Get excited. Okay, so this is more like a 2-for-1 episode because this episode actually includes the last 2 lines of the model, which are the A line, the action line, and the R line, the results line. So if you haven't heard the previous 3 episodes yet, I advise going back and listening to them in order, starting with episode 84, The Power of Your Mind. And in that, I break down one of the tools that I used based in cognitive behavioral theory, which is the model originally taught to me by Brooke Castillo, my first teacher and first life coach. But anywho, in these episodes, I break down the separate parts of the model, what they mean, why they're important, and how to implement them. So this is the last episode, the tail end. So if it doesn't make sense, that's why. Go back and look at that so you know what's going on here. Okay, so the action line is probably where you're going to put the most detail, but it's all about the actions you take when you feel the feeling in the F line. And inactions count as well. So what you do and what you don't do when you feel the feeling in the F line. And it's very important to note that it's not just things that you're doing regularly or things that happen often or only the behaviors you want to admit. Cough, cough. Honesty is the best policy. However, what you put in the A line are the actions that actually happen when you feel the feeling. Get curious. So let's run through a quick example. The feeling in the F line is angry. The C and T lines do matter. However, for this example, we're skipping them. We're just starting at the F line, and the F line is angry. So what can potentially happen? What can you do? Does somebody potentially do when they are feeling angry? And I have a specific example in my head, so I'm going to use it. So when this person feels angry, they imagine fighting somebody. Like they're literally just stuck, fixated on fighting somebody in their head. Granted, they're not going to actually come to blows with this person, but they keep thinking about it. So an action is ruminate on fighting somebody when you feel angry. And again, this is not the place for judgment or even to change your actions. It's literally just to be clear about what's going on. So when the F line is angry, the A line can look something like fixated on fighting someone or ruminating about fighting somebody, sitting quietly and not talking to anyone, think about all the times that you felt like this before, judge that other person, don't think about how to de-escalate the situation, don't think about common ground, don't think about why you're there in the first place, really just thinking about that in this situation there's a winner and a loser, and you're not trying to be the loser, and so on and so forth. All of this is fine. We just want to be honest about what's going on when we feel that way. So the A line is for introspection and honesty. So when we get all that listed out, then we can move to the R line, the results line. Now, the results line is the line that shows us what we're creating either consciously or subconsciously. It's the line that provides clarity from the rest of the lines in the model. The thought that you were thinking initially is almost always reflected in the R line. This is because our brains are simple. They don't like change, but they do prefer to gather information and evidence to reinforce what they already believe. So, your model is really just breaking down how your brain is thinking the things that it wants to keep thinking. But we do the model so you can consciously decide what you want to keep thinking. Because your brain, honestly, is like a toddler. You don't want this toddler running the show. You got to be like, all right, no, we're not eating ice cream for every meal. No, we're not taking our poop out of our diaper and drawing on the walls. If the toddler was running the show, it would always be reckless. So this is the part we do the model so we can see like, oh, okay, that's what the toddler is doing. How do I want to step in and parent here? How do I want to manage this situation? That's the point of the model. But oftentimes when I take my clients through their own models and we get to the R line and we see how their original thought is reflected in it, they're like, oh, wow, that makes a lot of sense. That really resonates. But now I see it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like they look at whatever they were thinking and they're like, see, I was right. It was never going to work out. I am not good enough. They do not like me. And I'm just like, yeah and no. Because when you were believing that, you didn't try to believe anything else. You didn't see how anything else could be possible. Therefore, you didn't allow anything else to be possible. So, is it a self fulfilling prophecy? I think yes and no. Yes, because what you're thinking is creating your results, but no, because you're usually not conscious of it. And if you're not conscious of a self fulfilling prophecy, is it a self fulfilling prophecy? Look, I don't know. I'm a little skeptical there. However, this tool is how we become conscious of the stories that are playing on repeat in our heads. And from there, we get to decide on purpose where we want to continue to invest belief or not. And again, I'm going to keep saying this because I know y'all are going to go through a phase where you just refuse to get it. But the model, this process is not a place for judgment. This is just to see what we're thinking and feeling and doing and how all that is creating the results in our life. And then we get more autonomy over it because we understand it. Like the anger example that I've been using on this episode. The person felt angry, and when they felt angry, they were fixated on fighting somebody. And then they kept thinking about all the wrong that that person did to them. They stop talking to other people. They just sit there quietly. They start dreading going to these events because the person's just even going to be there. They forget why they joined the club in the first place. They stop finding the joy in the actual purpose of the club, and so on and so forth. So they're creating a result where them being in this environment has turned into a battlefield. So they always prepare for battle. Then they lock into the belief pattern and are always ready for a fight. So once we see all this written out in model form, then we can decide what to do with it. It's not just about, ooh, let's change your thoughts so you can stop thinking about fighting. No, no, that's not how I operate the model, because sometimes some folks just need their ass beat. And who am I to deny that? Right? Okay, but in all seriousness, we can look at the model and take time to examine what's actually upsetting them so much, or where the boundary got crossed, or even what the boundary is that got crossed. This is where we find out if it's actually a problem with that other person, or if that other person is bringing up internal insecurities. It's where we decide what's working and not working for us so we can decide on purpose how we want to show up. When we look at unintentional models or models that you don't really think about, the subconscious ones that just come up, the point of it is to see how your experience in this given circumstance doesn't have to be this way. So we can get super curious about them and we can see how we want the experience to change and what we want it to change into. Like in this example that I've been using of this person that wants to fight, is it a boundary that needs to be set? Is it a conversation that needs to be had? Is it a place where a separate authority figure needs to be involved? Is it a situation where it's best if you just remove yourself completely? Like, let's get creative. And then from there, we can make an intentional model with the same circumstance and revolve it around what you want to think, feel, do, and create on purpose. Now, I am gonna hop on my soapbox for a little to talk about my grievances with how this tool has been misused and abused in the industry. So, this information, especially about the intentional R line and creating any result you want, has usually been pushed as a way to plug and play to get whatever you want, like a cheat code. You just have to know what to put in the R line and how to build your model around it, and then you can have anything you want. And this isn't wrong, but it isn't right either. It feels kind of like bait and switchy to me because it does not work like that in every situation. And the model is not a cheat code to life, but a tool that you can use to make it more manageable. And I need y'all to really hear me that the work is still required. The self introspection work, the shadow work, the looking at past traumas and healing from them work. Like all of this is still required in your life's journey. If you want to grow, if you want to change, if you want things to actually be measurably different, there's no escaping that. You got to do the work. And not only is the work required, but the understanding that you don't have full control over everything that happens in your life. I've definitely seen the model misused or honestly just used in ways that I wouldn't. But again, I like to use the model as a support, as a way to understand what's going on and not necessarily a cheat code to make sure everything goes the way that you want it to. Because newsflash, that's not how life works. And I need y'all to manage expectations. And yes, I am revolving this conversation around the R line because so many people think that you need a specific result to feel a certain kind of way or finally believed that you accomplished something. Okay, let's use a new example. Let's use weight loss. So say that you want to lose a certain number of pounds and you think about, all right, what do I need to lose those pounds? You need to work out, you need to eat right, all that kind of stuff. So you get to the R line goal of I want to lose 20 pounds in 2 months. And you put that in the R line and you're like, yeah, this is what's going to happen and this is what I have to do to make this happen. And you're like, I'm going to work out 5 times a week. I'm only going to eat salads. I'm not going to drink alcohol. I'm going to do all this stuff. And I'm going to feel super motivated to do it. And then in the T line, I'm going to put, I can lose 20 pounds in 2 months. And you make it this big, yeah, 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 rah, 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 but you don't actually feel it. You just use it as this thing of like, oh, if I put the pieces in the right places, I can manipulate this thing to make what I want to happen happen. But the thing in the A line, like, you can't make these major jumps. Like, you can't go from not working out to working out 5 times a week. You can't go from not thinking about what you eat, not counting calories, not figuring out what your body responds to best and the type of nutrients it needs, to just eating salads every day and thinking that's going to be okay. Like, it's not actually conducive to you maintaining this goal. It's basically just like this quick fix, or this wannabe quick route to try and get to this goal. And there are a few problems with this. But one of them is you're going to make the process really, really, really hard, and likely won't even hit the goal. You will feel like shit, and you will struggle the entire way through because you just put an outcome in the R line. You didn't actually work with yourself, work with your beliefs, work with your nervous system, work with your body to decide the best way that you right now can get to that outcome of you in the future. Like, there's levels to this. There's steps we got to take. So yeah, I find that when people make a super specific R line goal without doing their unintentional belief work, they don't actually change their patterns or their experience, but they expect that reaching that goal will do so. So they put everything else aside, including themselves, to hit that R line because that's what they think will make them feel better. That actual goal of being 20 pounds lighter. But no, that's not what makes you feel better. And in this process, when you're only considering the end goal and lose consideration for yourself, the process, how you feel, and all that kind of stuff, that may mean, it will likely mean, that you're doing things unhealthily, that you are skipping meals, or you're still working out when your body needs rest and recovery, and that you're just trying to lose 20 pounds in a certain time frame instead of being a person who listens to their body and learns how to lose weight healthily and intuitively. You're not becoming the person that learns how to incorporate exercise in their schedule, or learns what works best for them, or learns how to find what they gravitate towards and are willing to get better at. Like, you're not becoming the person who makes healthy decisions, who does this stuff incrementally and can actually make a lifestyle change. You're just trying to get there. And plenty of people get there doing it like this, but I want to reiterate, the process is shit. You feel like shit the entire time, and you feel like shit when you get there. It does not have to be that way. And I need y'all to hear me here again. There doesn't actually feel better. And there is whatever the end goal is, whatever you put in your result line. So in this, the 20 pounds lighter. Being 20 pounds lighter doesn't actually feel better. Take it from me. I lost a bunch of weight. I got down to my dream weight, and I was just like, oh my God, now my life's going to be perfect. Now my life's going to be easy. Like, the whole time I was thinking this when I, wasn't at that weight. And when I finally got there, everything was the same. Shit sucked. It was actually around the time I was getting separated, like entering into my divorce, and like I didn't lose the weight because of that situation, but like I still had real life feelings and big things to deal with. Like, losing the weight didn't actually change my experience of life. Like, I still needed to do that. But yeah, you are still going to have negative emotions, because emotions aren't really negative or positive. They're literally just a spectrum of emotional responses to the human experience. So no matter what you do, they are all going to be there. So yeah, it's not the result that makes you feel better, because you're still going to have thoughts. Those thoughts are still what causes your feelings. So even if you get that super specific R line goal, It's not that goal that causes your feelings. It's what you think about that goal and what you think about yourself for hitting that goal that causes your feelings. And the journey is going to match the destination. If your journey doesn't feel good and doesn't feel sustainable, your result will not feel good and it will not be sustainable. So, just continuing with this weight loss example, that's why people yo yo weight so much. Like, you actually have to change what's happening in your brain, not just how often you work out and what you eat. And with my clients in my programs, we make the path to change feel good and sustainable and enjoyable. So that way, once you actually made those changes, you feel good, it's sustainable, and you're enjoying life more, even when those quote unquote negative emotions come up. But this is why I like to steer people in the direction of feeling better first and adjusting your energy and your capacity and desire changes from there and what you create from that space instead of demanding results out of yourself like the capitalistic patriarchal machine Western society expects us to be. Specificity is going to come. I promise you, it will. But I teach you the tools you need to build the skills behind peace in growth and change. Hear me, peace in growth and change, not abrupt craziness in growth and change. We want to make this peaceful, sustainable, and joyous. Because it's not just about being someone who puts pleasure first, but being someone who trusts themselves relentlessly. Someone who doesn't pedestalize any individual or set of opinions before their own. Someone who is authentically themselves in any space that they enter. Someone who focuses on identifying and meeting their own needs instead of constantly being at the whim of trying to have somebody else to meet them. Someone who does what they want with who they want when they want. Someone who maintains healthy and supportive relationships conducive to the life they want to lead. Someone who exercises autonomy over what they can control and peace with what they can't. Someone who sees who they are as not just worthy, not just enough, but necessary and important to the ecosystem of the world. And so on and so forth. These are real results that my clients get, real changes in how they live their lives. And this isn't to say that everything's easy peasy and they never have a problem and they never feel bad again, because that's not fucking realistic. But it's like they feel better about feeling bad. It's like they bounce back quicker. The stuff that would have taken them out or had them down for the count more just rolls off their shoulders, or they have an easier time recovering and being and getting back to the place where they feel aligned and authentically themselves and being around the people who support that as well. What I offer aren't really rooted in specific results, but instead the thoughts, feelings, and actions that create those results. I teach you the skill set, the skills in reflecting, understanding, and modifying your thoughts, feeling, and actions. And that's what makes specific results inevitable. Working with me as your coach not only makes those specific results inevitable, but opens you up to an entirely new way of how you can experience yourself, how you can experience the world, and how your experience of the world changes. My clients always improve their relationship with themselves, the people around them, and their ability to take on whatever life has for them in the way that's most aligned to their own values and desires. So stop playing. I have ad hoc options on my website where you can either have a single session or a month of coaching with 24/7 audio-based coaching support and 4 one-on-one sessions with me, 60 minutes each. And this requires no application, no sales call, just sign up, submit payment, and select when you want to start. I also have a sales call for those of you who would like to gain more clarity and understanding in how I can help you in your specific situation. And from there, we can decide what package fits best for you and your needs. All right, y'all. So that concludes my soapbox stand and this series on the tool, the model. This stuff can get confusing, so listen to the episodes as many times as you need to, or, hire me. And I'll give you that customized support and insight into your own individual situations. But I'd really like and appreciate if you'd share this podcast with your friends and leave a review, because I'm a firm believer that this work changes the world. That when we use these tools in a way that accounts for our desires and our humanity, we're able to live into ourselves, our truths, our passions, and our purposes, instead of trying to be a generic copy of good enough. Plagued by fear, anxiety, and depression, we just get to be us. And yeah, I'm in firm belief that when everyone just gets to be themselves, not only do they heal, but we all get to heal collectively. So please, y'all, help me get this podcast to as many listeners as possible. But with that, friends, I'll see you next week. Stay pleased. Hey, friends. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Pleasure Priority Podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. If it's your pleasure, check me out on Instagram at Amber Taylor Coaching and my website, www.ambertaylorcoaching.com, for more on increasing your pleasure across all aspects of life. As always, make sure to follow the show and check back each week for a new episode. I'd also love it if you'd leave an honest rating and review, and if you'd share the show with anyone else you think would benefit. Much love. Talk soon, friends.